Yo, what is up, guys? We are back with part 4 of What If Naruto wielded Orochimaru, or What If Naruto was Toshiro'S reincarnation. Without further ado, let's get straight into the what if. Now we're actually go back to the part of the series where they just got to the tower and they're starting the third part of the tuning exams, the verses and basically Hiruzen would explain to them that they'll be fighting each other, and he would pretty much point to a board where they'll start randomizing matches, basically being Sasuke versus Yoroi and Naruto versus Kiba. Sakura versus Ino as well. Basically, all the fights would go to canon, or like the matchups would go to canon. Now, basically, everyone, he was gonna basically say, good luck, and the third part of the tuning exams would commence. Now, basically, we'll go to the Sasuke versus Yoroi fight. Now, Sasuke would still beat Yoroi like in canon, basically one-shotting him with his awesome taijutsu. Now, I just said awesome, so you're probably thinking this guy's kind of not just kidding, bro. But basically, Sasuke would still beat Yoroi like in canon. Now, Naruto's fight would be next, and Naruto's fight would be Naruto versus Kiba. Now, basically, Naruto would I said basically too much, but he would basically jump over the railing and he'd get ready to fight. Now, Kiba would come down and basically say, you're the dead last, I won't even need Akamaru for this. Now, Naruto would think that this guy is like really arrogant. This he used to be friends with Kiba. I don't know where he got this ego from, but he would quickly dismiss it as the fight would start. Kiba would then charge at Naruto before using the Fang over Fang, but Naruto would just move to the side and Kiba would smash his head over on the wall, basically hurting himself. Now Kiba would realize that he needs Akamaru to do this, so he would do the man beast transformation and do like the double Fang over Fang. Naruto would just use Bakudo 81 Danku, and Kiba would pretty much smash himself into the Danku, or the invisible shield. Now, Kiba realized that he cannot win, and Akamaru is literally like shivering from the fear. He can literally feel, Akamaru can feel that Naruto's his cold, like Kyorimaru itself from the sword. Now Naruto would unsheath his sword before flash stepping behind Kiba, and a cut would appear over Kiba's chest. Kiba would get knocked out for the count, and Naruto would be declared the winner. The next fight would be Rock Lee versus Gaara. Now, this fight would pretty much go to canon, since Naruto having Toshiro'S powers wouldn't affect the timeline for, Lee being more powerful. So, the fight would go to canon with Gaara, basically destroying Lee's legs. Now, the next fight would be Hinata versus Neji. This fight would go to canon, but literally when Neji's about to quote-unquote kill Hinata, Naruto would pretty much flash step and, grab Neji's wrist, basically, stopping him. Now, that pretty much end their fight with Naruto declaring that he will destroy Neji. He basically swear, with the whole, putting his fist up with Hinata's blood. Now, after this, the next fight would be none other than Sakura versus Ino. Now, this timeline, since Sakura is way stronger, she would be able to one-shot Ino with either the or the style or water style jutsus, or just her chakra-infused fist. So, that's definitely good eats for Sakura. If you guys don't know what good eats means, it just means easy, easy win. So after this pretty much end the third part of the tuning exams. Hiruzen would announce that there's too many people in the tuning exams, and they'll be having a finale part, or a fourth part. He would then say that they have 1 month to train, and they should basically, use it to their advantage. Now, everyone would be, getting ready to train, and Naruto would pretty much ask Kakashi to train him. Kakashi would then tell him that, he's training Sasuke, and he has a good trainer for him. After this, Kakashi would tell him that this guy will be by the hot springs. Now you should go meet him there. After this, Naruto would nod and basically say goodbye to Kakashi before Naruto would basically head towards the hot springs. He would then see this old man with white hair, or long white hair, basically peeking in the hot springs. Now, we both know what this guy, who this guy is and what he was doing. This is none other than Jiraiya of the Sonic. Naruto would say, I don't think it's, quite respectful for you to, to basically be looking pervertedly. we already know he was doing. He was basically doing some research. Now after this, Jiraiya would say, "Yeah, it's for my book." After this, Naruto would say, "You Jiraiya of the Sonic, right?" You're basically saying you are Jiraiya of the Sonic, like in a question. Jiraiya would basically say, "Yeah, he is," and he says, "Are you a fan or something of my book?" Naruto would say, "Aren't you supposed to be like, aren't you my trainer? Kakashi said I should meet you here." After his Jiraiya would say, "Oh, you're Naruto Uzumaki, right? You need, training for the month, for the tuning exams, right?" After this, Naruto would nod, and basically Jiraiya would say, "Meet me in 1 hour at training ground 7." After this, Naruto would basically say, "Okay," and Jiraiya would pretty much poof into smoke, or like a shadow clone, pretty much. And after this, Naruto would wait, go eat some ramen before heading towards the training ground. Now Naruto would, arrive at the training ground, and basically this would start the 1 month of training for Jiraiya and Naruto. Jiraiya would figure out Naruto's abilities, or not figure out, but Naruto would show him what his abilities were. Basically being able to, manipulate ice from a sword, or that's what Jiraiya thought it was. So basically, Jiraiya would teach him some stuff with, Jiraiya learning some stuff as well. Since these are Shinigami powers, Jiraiya could definitely learn something. Not that he'll actually have Shinigami powers, but I just say it's like intel based. He have some information on what Naruto's powers really are. Now, in this timeline, Naruto would basically just train with his Bankai, trying to keep it more efficient. Basically, being able to have the same power of Bankai after in the full Brink arc of Toshiro. Now, after the 1 month of training, Naruto would then say, goodbye to Jiraiya, saying that he'll see him later, and Naruto would basically flash step. He would flash step towards the arena, and he'd, flash step, like right on time. He was like basically, he just barely made it. After this, everyone, Hiruzen would drop his pipe and realize, Naruto came there so fast, he couldn't even sense him. After this, he would quickly, gather himself, or his character himself, just calm down. He was that surprised that Naruto was managed to basically instantaneously appear in the middle of the ring. After this, he'd pretty much wave towards the proctor, and the proctor would pretty much start the fight, or not start the fights with Naruto and Neji's fight starting first. Everyone pretty much go upstairs to the arena, and Naruto versus Neji, the fight would happen. Now, Neji would say that it's like fate that Naruto will lose, no matter how powerful you are with that sword of yours. After this, Neji would pretty much run at Naruto, trying to shut off his chakra networks. Naruto would casually dodge, easily, and Neji would get annoyed before saying, "You're in my, zone." Not his zone, but basically he would pretty much use the 64 palms, the 8 trigram 64 palms, basically quote unquote shutting off Naruto's chakra networks. But Naruto actually let him shut off, or quote unquote let him basically hit him. Now, Naruto would pretty much look like he lost, but Naruto would get up and say, "Bankai." Then there would be a cloud of smoke, or a cloud of smoke made from the Ryatsu output, and Naruto would change his outfit, would be a little different. He would pretty much be in the Bankai form, and he charged straight at Neji. He would then use Hado number 99, Goryo Tenmetsu, basically saying, slashing the opening of Neji's chest, saying, "Don't make me raise my blade to the likes of you," before Naruto would be declared the winner. Now, if you guys are wondering why would I have Naruto use Hado number 99, because this is a very advanced Kido, and he didn't even use the incantation. Let's just say that Naruto wanted to use all his power, and don't think that he's going to be very OP. It's just, this was like a very one-time event for him to use that Kido. Now, basically, Naruto would be declared the winner of the match, and the rest of the fights would go to canon. Shikamaru versus Tamari would go the same, and Sakura was supposed to be fighting Dosu, but Dosu didn't really arrive, so she was already given the win. So she would be waiting for the next match. Now, the next match would be Sasuke versus Gaara. Now, there'd be around 5 minutes before there would be a countdown, like 10, 9, and 8, a countdown to Sasuke's disqualification. And I don't even know if I said that right, but basically him being disqualified. Now, around when the proctor's at 1, a cloud of smoke would appear, and there was Sasuke and Kakashi, basically being in a desert type cloak, or just the one, like just any cloak that you wear in the desert. Because they were training. It's like when the character appears in the battle. Like in the Ranka arc, they basically were like Rukia and Renji were wearing those desert cloaks that Byakuya gave them. So basically Sasuke would have that cloak. Now Kakashi would say, "Are we late?" The proctor would say that Sasuke barely made it, and Kakashi would go up to the arena. Now the battle would start with Sasuke being a little more strong since number one he has the Mangekyo, but he doesn't like to use it, so he's only really using the three Tomoe Sharingan. Now Sasuke would have learned the Chidori like in canon, but he would be able to use it more instead of just 2 times a day. He would be able to use it 4 times a day. So Sasuke and Gaara would have the similar battle with Sasuke completely gutter stomping Gaara. Gaara would pretty much go in his perfect defense, and Sasuke would jump back on to the side of the wall before charging up the Chidori, which would take him a few seconds before he would run towards Gaara and pretty much stab him through the shoulder. Gaara would pretty much go crazy, saying that he's seeing his own blood before the Konoha Crush would start. There'd be flower petals that would fall from the sky, and most of the lower rank jutsu and lower rank ninja and the citizens would be put under the genjutsu. Only high ranking ninja would be able to break out of it. And Sasuke would chase Gaara and the Sand Siblings through the forest, and Kakashi would assign Naruto, Shikamaru, Shino, and Sakura the Eric mission of basically going to help Sasuke. Now, God, I was about to sneeze. But basically, back to the what if. Now, basically, Naruto and Shikamaru, Shino, and Kiba and Sakura, just so many people, just basically the same people who went in canon. Now they'd be going through the forest, and Shino would fight Kankuro, and Tamari would get put under the shadow paralysis by pretty much Shikamaru, and Kiba pretty much helped fight what's his name, Kankuro. Naruto and Sakura would be on their way to help Sasuke, and they'd pretty much see Sasuke get slammed into a tree. Naruto would then use Sit Upon the Frosted Heavens, Yorimaru, or Rise over the Frosted Heaven, Reign over the Frosted Heavens, Yorimaru. There's 2 different incantations, but basically he just activates Shikai. He sends an Ice Dragon towards the connection between basically cutting off Gaara's sand hand, like the partially transformed hand. That's basically holding Sasuke to the tree. This would pretty much slice the hand off, and you'd see a bunch of blood before Gaara would pretty much regenerate. Naruto and Gaara would pretty much fight with Sakura still getting slapped into the tree. I know Sakura is strong and all, but I don't see how she's winning or even putting up a fight to Gaara, and I kind of want Naruto to have more fighting time with Gaara rather than Sakura. Now, basically, Naruto would clash a sword to sand, I guess. I don't really think Gaara can make weapons. He just uses his sand. Now, basically, Naruto would go Bankai, and he tried to basically subdue Gaara, since he knows this isn't, this is Shukaku. Now, he'd pretty much be slicing and dicing Gaara until Gaara would pretty much fully transform into Shukaku. Shukaku would say, finally I'm free. And Naruto would say, no, you're not. He would pretty much summon those 8 icebergs and basically have it close in on Shukaku. I actually don't know what this technique is called, but I think it's called Hyori Senbi, but I may be wrong. But basically, he would use the same technique that Toshiro used on Luffy. I think the Substitute 6 Espada. I don't know if you guys remember that, but if you saw that episode, you would know what technique I'm talking about. Basically, he would use the same technique on Shukaku, and it'd pretty much slice Shukaku in half. And Gaara would take back control or be woken up. Now Naruto would talk no jutsu him real quick, and he would then head back to the Konoha. Since they were in the forest outside of Konoha, Naruto has to head back. He would then pretty much be carrying Sakura and Sasuke on his shoulder, and he would flash step to the village. He would then flash step to the Hokage Tower, not the tower, but the arena, and he'd see Hiruzen dead. Now everyone be running in after the barrier was let down, and Orochimaru would be reverse summoned to his base after getting his arm sealed, like in canon. He was using the Reaper Death Seal with the help of Shadow Clones to seal the first and second Hokage, and also seal Orochimaru's arms. After this, Naruto would be a little heartbroken that Hiusen died, but he'd realize that he has to move on. Now, the next few days, Naruto would be chilling and recovering from his battle since he used Bankai, and Bankai takes a lot of strength. He can't just do Bankai whenever he wants. Now, one day he'd be called down to the elders' room. He would walk in, and basically the elders would congratulate him on stopping Gaara from his rampage, because if he didn't, the village would have been doomed. Now, they say as a result of your battle with, successful battle with Gaara, you will be promoted to Jonin of Konoha Gakure. Naruto would widen his eyes in surprise, seeing that most of his life, these people were the reason why his life was so horrible. Now they're promoting him to Jonin. After this, he'd say thank you, and they'd hand him to the ID, basically showing that he's Jonin. Now, Naruto would pick up the ID and basically, say, bye-bye. Formally, obviously, since he can't just, he has to be respectful. Now, Naruto would head out of the elder's room, and he would head towards the hospital. He would walk in, and he'd pretty much do a handshake with Sasuke, saying, I got some good news, Sasuke. Says the elders basically told me that you'll be tuning. You're promoted to tuning. Sasuke would be a little happy, but Naruto would tell him that he was promoted to Jonin. He was promoted to Jonin. Now Sasuke wouldn't be jealous, but he'd realize that this could be the motivation that he needs to get stronger and to kill Itachi. But he wouldn't be focused on Itachi now, since they just even though Hiruzen died, they had a big victory on the Sound Village and the Sand Village in the battle or the war or the invasion. So after this, Naruto would head out after having a conversation with Sasuke. He'd pretty much head towards the the ramen stand, and he'd walk in. He'd order some ramen, and he'd hear like the opening of the entrance. It's not like an entrance, but it's like not even a flag, but it's like the entrance of Ichiraku would feel somebody enter. Now he'd look over and he'd see Jiraiya. Jiraiya would say, "Meet me outside." After this, Naruto would pay for his meal and basically head outside. After this, Jiraiya would say, "You ready? You want to go on a mission with me? We have to find the fifth Hokage." After this, Naruto would be like, "All right, I'm down." And basically, Naruto and Jiraiya would head out the village to head over to basically get the Tsunade. Now they'd head out after Naruto would pack up, and they'd be at the village gates. The village gates just leaving, and that would basically start the trip of around 3 hours. They would be walking, and they'd make it to the hotel where Jiraiya would tell him that he's gonna go get some research, and here's the hotel keys. Now after this, Naruto would go into the hotel, and he'd be reading a book when he'd feel a knock at the door, or he'd hear a knock at the door. Naruto would then use his advanced Ryatsu, like his sensing. Ryatsu is high Ryatsu sensing. If you guys don't know what Ryatsu is, it just means spiritual pressure. It's kind of like his sensing, since he's a good sensory ninja, and people can sense with their Ryatsu if they put just in general. He would then feel that pretty two guys with high killer intent right outside the door. Naruto would then unsheath his blade before stabbing through the door, basically stabbing Kisame through the stomach. He would then kick down the door, and Itachi would pretty much dodge the door, not dodge the door, but basically move to the left before a door would come flying through. The door would be like knocked off its hinges and be sent at them. Like I said, Itachi would dodge, and Kisame would be hit by it, and he'd be sent into the wall with a sword through his stomach. After this, Naruto would, be in the middle of the hallway, while they'll be, like, towards the end. Naruto would raise his hand out, and basically, it's like, he would put Ryatsu into his hand until Hyorimaru would, like, rip itself out of Kisame's stomach, basically being, sent back to Naruto's hand, because, basically, if you guys don't know, Zanpakutos are part of your soul. If you want it to come to you, it will, It's kind of like the Kusanagi blade with Orochimaru. and how like basically how Orochimaru stabbed Hiruzen because he requested it to come towards him. So that would, something similar would happen with Kisame. So Kisame's whole stomach would be like split in half, but due to him being Kisame, he would regenerate it, and that basically start the fight between Naruto and Kisame. Naruto would deliberately try to not fight Itachi because this is Sasuke. He's supposed to, like this is Sasuke's enemy. He doesn't want to take away Sasuke's honor or pride. So basically, Naruto and Kisame would fight clash to clash, and Kisame would try to steal Naruto's chakra. Once he realized he couldn't steal it, Naruto would say, "I don't even use chakra," before basically using Shikai to send an Ice Dragon towards Kisame. Itachi would pretty much get in front of that Ice Dragon before using his full body Susanoo, and using the Yaramir. The Ice Dragon would be sent back at Naruto, and Naruto would just grab it and basically turn it back into Ryatsu. Now, after their little skirmish, Jiraiya would come up, and basically, Sasuke would also come, but unfortunately, Sasuke would still get put under the Tsukuyomi. Number one, he doesn't have full control of the Mangekyo, and he only has a 3 Tomoe. So he'd get put under Tsukuyomi, but he wouldn't be in a coma for like 2 weeks. He would only just be knocked out. After this, Jiraiya would use the Toad's Mouth Jutsu, and Itachi and Kisame would escape just like usually, like in canon. Now, after this, Naruto and Jiraiya would head towards the village or the small town where Tsunade resides in. They would then head, after a 4-hour trip, they would then, be hungry. So Jiraiya would say, you trying to get some grub? Naruto would say, yeah, he's down. And they'd head into a bar. They would then see Tsunade and they'd sit down and they ordered some food, they're chilling. And once they have their dinner and stuff like that, after a long conversation and, reuniting, Naruto and Jiraiya would basically say that the reason they're here is they want Tsunade to become the 5th Hokage, and if they heard the news about Hiruzen's recent death, Tsunade would say, yeah, I heard, she would be drunk, so I heard that old man kicked the bucket. Basically means like he died. That's what kicking the bucket means. So after this, Naruto would clench his fist under the table, but he tried to control his anger. Now, Jiraiya would say, will you become the 5th Hokage? Tsunade would say, no, that job is only for fools. After this, Naruto would slam his head on the table, and Tsunade would say, oh, you have something to say? Go ahead and say it. Naruto would say, you have no right to, be the 5th Hokage. How dare you insult your grandfather and your granduncle and your sensei and, my dad, since Minato Namikaze is Naruto's dad, After this, Tsunade would be like, your dad? What are you talking about? After this, she'd pretty much look at Naruto and see, he kind of looks like Minato. Now, after this, Tsunade would make a deal with Naruto saying that if he beats her, she will come back to the village. Now, after this, Naruto and Tsunade would head towards the forest so they can go all out. And Tsunade would pretty much say that she only used one finger, and Naruto would activate his Shikai, basically charging towards Tsunade. He would then go first, try to stab, slash at her, but she would raise her, try to catch the blade with her hand. She would put a lot of chakra since she feels that aura in the sword, and she would try to catch it with her hands. After this, she would pretty much catch it with her hands, but there would be a cut all over her hands. Cuts start to form all over her hand and arm, and Naruto would say, don't you dare touch this beautiful blade with those dirty hands of yours, before he would pretty much use Hado number 4 Byakurai, basically electrocuting Tsunade and putting a hole through her shoulder. After this, Tsunade would give up since, she would basically use the 100 healings, and this would be more power than the one finger she promised, so Tsunade would have to go back to the village with them. Now, they would head back to the village, and Naruto would pretty much, be walking around after they'd come back to the village, and everyone would be cheering for them, be cheering for Naruto, especially since he's the one person that brought him back. So the village will start to like Naruto a little more than usual in canon. Now, Naruto would head towards the training ground 7 because Jiraiya actually called him there. Jiraiya would tell him that we're actually going on a training trip in 1 week. Are you prepared for that, Naruto? Jiraiya would say, Jiraiya would basically tell this to Naruto, and Naruto would say that he's definitely down for that, since you're like the best sensei ever. Jiraiya would pretty much feel that that bond between him and Naruto becomes stronger. Similar, Jiraiya is basically Naruto's father figure, since Naruto didn't really have much parents growing up, so Jiraiya would pretty much take that role for Naruto. Now, one day, or the next evening, Naruto would be taking a stroll through the village, since he likes taking walks at night. That's one thing he developed when he was growing up, with the rags, basically being poor. He would definitely like to take a lot of strolls during the night, since he likes feeling the chilly air. He would be walking around until he feels a lot of sadness from Sasuke. He would see Sasuke, and Sasuke would pretty much walk through the trees, and basically the Sound 4 would attack Sasuke. They'd realize that Sasuke doesn't have the curse mark, and they'd go in to kill Sasuke. Naruto would come and basically slash Jugo's, or the Jirobo's hand off, his whole arm off. Basically what Ichigo did to Yami in the Arankar arc. If you guys don't remember that, watch Bleach, because that show is goated. The Thousand Year Blood War arc is getting animated soon. It's just gonna be really good. Basically, Naruto would say, don't try to lay your hands on my brother, since Naruto and Sasuke have definitely grown a brotherly bond. And yeah, after this, the Sound 4 would be scared and they'd have to retreat. Jirobo basically losing his arm, and Naruto would basically chase them down and kill them one by one. Now, I don't see how the Sound 4 are escaping, so they'd be killed by Naruto. Naruto being mad, you don't get to attack Sasuke and then basically just run away like nothing happened. So Naruto would kill the Sound 4, and that would pretty much mark the end of that arc. So the Sasuke retrieval arc would never happen, and Sasuke would train with Kakashi for the 3-year training arc. Now Naruto and Jiraiya would head over to their training arc, or the time skip, and they'd be training for 3 years. Naruto would get power up, and basically for the first year of the training, they would do bounty hunting, just trying to feel that evolution, trying to be in a dangerous situation, so he'll force himself to evolve above that, and he would be able to get the mission done. So Naruto would be a Jonin, and he'd start to do a lot of S-rank missions and A-rank missions, like assassination missions, and he would get a lot of money during this time skip. So, and Jiraiya would get more intel from his spy network, and that would pretty much mark the end of the time skip. Now, this will be the end of part 4 of What If Naruto was Toshiro'S Reincarnation. Now, I know I didn't really post for a while. The reason why is, number one, I actually got a new mic, the Snowball, with the mic stand and the pop filter, stuff like that. I literally got a fully upgraded Snowball. And the next reason is because I'm sick. I'm so sick to this day. I just wanted to upload for you guys, and my mic just came yesterday, so yeah. So sorry about not uploading for the next 4 days, but without further ado, guys, peace out.